Thousands of Israelis are up in arms against the government's plans to give lawmakers more control of the judicial system. Well, President Isaac Herzog's alternative changes have been rejected by the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. The president has warned that Israel is at a turning point now, and the country may witness a civil war. Well, it looks like his call is turning out to be true, as settlers are attacking the demonstrators. Well, protesters across Israel are reporting that men with hammers and people throwing firecrackers at them. Many demonstrators also reporting a number of attacks by taxi drivers. Well, the Israeli government says the reforms are crucial. The government has been citing an imbalance, and this has given judges too much power, they say, over elected representatives. Critics, notably on the right, though, have argued that Israel's top court judges have exceeded their authority. Well, the Netanyahu government wants to implement an override clause. It would allow the parliament to overrule some Supreme Court decisions with the support of 61 lawmakers in the 120-member parliament. The government sees it as a refusal by leftist opponents to accept the result of last November's election. The protesters say the future of Israeli democracy is at stake, or if the government succeeds in pushing through the plans they say. Well, we're going to get some more details on this now from someone in the region. It's our correspondent now joining us. I think we have a live chat, which is fantastic. Hello to you. Great to see you. Thank you for your time today. Can the government's partial delay of the judicial reform bills be seen as a victory, do you think, for the protesters?
Right. Hello. Yes. So this is the first moderation of the coalition's judicial reform proposals, and they are being seen to have come about as a result of the protests. Now, we've seen 11 weeks of protests now with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets, including 3 days of disruption in 150 locations, including the one I'm standing in right now. Now, the coalition has postponed all the bills except one to mid-April, so that's a 1-month break, and they've called on the opposition to negotiate during this time. Remember, the opposition had said that they would be willing to talk, but not while the legislation was progressing. So right now, just one of the bills, that's the judicial appointments bill, is still in progress, but that's been amended by the chair of the Parliamentary Justice Committee, Simcha Rothman. Now, the original bill had effectively meant that all judicial appointments would be under political control, but under the new proposals, a coalition would have control of the first 2 appointments to the Supreme Court during its government, and after that they would need to seek broader support, so consensus candidates. Now, Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition, has already taken to Twitter and rejected this new proposal. We've not yet heard from Benny Gantz, who's another leading voice in the opposition. So it's too early to call if this is a victory, but the amendment and the delay in most of the bills are likely to be seen as positive signs by the protesters that the protests are having an impact.
Okay, so Jodie, what's likely to happen next, do you think? You say the protesters are likely to have an impact here.
Yeah, so I think that the delay and the amendments are definitely going to be seen as signs that the protests are having an impact. We know that the protests have involved leading voices in the worlds of economics, business and security. And on Sunday, hundreds of army reservists didn't show up and report for duty. Now, they are expected to show up for any operations, but are reportedly missing some training. And some of Israel's allies, too, are calling on the coalition to slow down the legislation. For example, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke on the phone with President Biden yesterday. Netanyahu said that Israel will remain a strong and vibrant democracy, and President Biden urged Netanyahu to secure the broadest possible support for the changes. Now, I've been reporting from the protests and spoken to many people on the ground. The message here appears to be that if a compromise can't be found, then they're certainly going to increase civil disobedience. So as well as the army reservists, they're also pointing specifically to the startup sector, which accounts for 25% of Israel's income tax revenue. So a lot will depend on if negotiations take place over the next month, whether or not we'll see further disruption. But meanwhile, we know that a day of disruption has already been scheduled for this Thursday.
Okay, all eyes on this Thursday then. Jodie Cohen, thank you so much reporting from Israel for us, talking to the protesters.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.